Hi guys, today I'll be talking about some of the mistakes that we've made along the way while we were buying our property. Now we're about 10 months down the line and we just want to share with people who are in that process and they need to learn some very important things so that they don't get to regret. And first, I want to apologize that it's taking a long time for us to do this video. We just, lots of things happens and here and there, but here we are and we've got lots of videos, but we just needed to do this one before we hit on other ones being processed on YouTube. So here we go. Let's dive into it. I haven't done about 4 processes or 5 altogether before we got this final property. These are some of the things that we think are very important for you to know. The first one is you need to get all your documents ready. All your documents have to be ready because for you to start at all, you have to reserve the property. After finding the property, you have to reserve it. And for you to reserve that property, the agent would need to see your documents, especially your deposits being ready. Now, I had some amount of money that were put in Vanguard ISA, that were giving some reasonable returns. So I didn't want to take them out. And then we saw this property and we told the agents that we had this money all available. This is the cash. And when I had the valuation of what's in Vanguard ISA together, it's going to make up to the 10% deposit that we needed. But they said everything has to be ready in cash. And because of that, we lost that opportunity because by the time the cash from Vanguard hit into my account, which was actually roughly about 3 to 5 days, the agents told me that someone else had completely reserved the property. And this was at the time when we had locked in the interest rates at roughly about, I think, 1.5%. Just imagine, we lost that and it was a good property. My advice to you is that get all your documents ready, all your cash ready when you are good to go. And other documents such as documents from your office, if you've been needing that. I'm sure if you speak with a mortgage advisor, and there are lots of free mortgage advisors out there, they'll tell you some of those documents that you need. If you need some documents from your office, which will be referencing documents, if you tell your HR that you need this kind of documents, they will know what it is. So it's not new to them. If you also need some documents that will prove your history of living in the UK, your BRP, your passport, all of them have to be all ready. So you're good to go and you're not missing that slot of reserving the property. Next thing is that you want to ensure that the developer is known especially to the lenders. If you're buying in cash, brilliant, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're buying through mortgage and you have a lender who is giving you an agreement in principle or mortgage in principle, whatever it's called, for you to get loan whenever you need to buy the house, you want to ensure that the developer that you're looking at is familiar with them. And that is what happened to us in another scenario where, okay, we were ready to reserve, we had reserved, and now we need to process the other bits of the information that is needed, which is the bank confirming that they will give the loan when the property is ready by the developer. And then they said, oh, they're not familiar with the developer. And again, this was around the time when the interest rate was around 1.8, 1.5, thereabout. So the lender suggested that we drop 15% rather than 10%. 5% extra is not a lot in a sense, but man, when you convert the money, it's actually a lot. So we couldn't get that, and then we ditched that. We would have been a homeowner much earlier, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So make sure that the developer that you're aiming towards is quite familiar and you don't get disappointed along the way. After this failed, we moved on to, okay, let's consider an existing property to buy. And then this is another mistake that we got into. We went into this process from about January or early February until about June before the sellers came back to us that they were not selling again. The whole process was going all right at the start. Okay, I agree, these are the things they will leave for us in the house. Some of them for free, some of them will pay extra. It was quite a nice house that we're really eager to get into. But then by June, when all the necessary processes have been done, and then it's just for us to exchange contract, which means you sign the contract, I will sign the contract, and then we exchange. And then we waited to hear from them a couple of days, a couple of weeks before the agent reached out to us This is after developing good rapport with these people. They were Nigerians. And sorry to say, it was quite disappointing that people who are like us are the one who are very disappointing to us. So the agent called and said they're not selling again for reasons best known to them. So what you want to make sure to do in this case is that if you're buying an existing property, confirm with the seller that they would have left the property by a particular date, and they have the commitment. Either maybe they've already bought their property already, or they are relocating or whatever. Just be sure that they are already out of the property, or they would have been out by the time you intend to move in. So what this cost was that we are told our landlord that we're going to be moving out of the property by June. Expectedly, we wanted to sign by then, and that was what we discussed with these sellers. But unfortunately now they said that they were not selling, and they were not bound by any contract, so every loss is on ourselves. The solicitor's cost, which we have run throughout those period, we had to pay the solicitor for nothing because it's not the solicitor's fault, and we could not hold them to anything because they had not signed the contract. And now our landlord as well, we told them we're moving out too, and then when we told them, oh, we're not moving out anymore, they had already found someone else to move in. So that affected those other people as well. And then the landlord now increased our rent. It was initially, I think, 695. It increased to 795. So you want to be sure that the sellers are out of the property. Don't commit to your landlord that you're going to be exiting your rented place until you are certain about the completion date. In our current property, we were certain of the completion date before we told the landlord we were moving out. And so we had 1 month to let them know. And so what we then did was that we had told them a month earlier, and we also pleaded with them that, okay, if we moved out before our next month rent ends, that could we get some refunds? And they agreed that we could get 2 weeks refund, which was fantastic for us. So just try to look into some of those loopholes along the line. And the next thing to look out for is avoid contract race. Now, contract race, for those who don't understand, is when you and other people are going in for the same property, and the agent or the developer have accepted more than one person's reservation for various reasons. It could be that the property has been existing for so long and they really need to get it out so that they can recover their money and pay whatever loan that they have on it. So now, that means you and other people are trying as much as possible to finish the whole process and be the one who will actually get the property. So that's what we got into in another situation. And our solicitor advised us that it's a very risky situation to be in because you never know. But we thought we had good rapport with him, that, okay, we kept on communicating with him almost every day, telling him about the whole process. What caused a little bit of the delay was that there's usually a regulatory search that has to happen. Now, we had the option of either not doing this regulatory search and doing what they call indemnity, to say that the regulatory search that is existing on that property, which was more than 6 months old, we deem it to still be relevant, or we do a fresh one. We decided, okay, not to take too much of a risk, we'll do a fresh one. So that took a bit of time, I think 2 or 3 weeks. Unfortunately, that could not buy us the time that we needed because the other person was in the process, then finished much earlier than we did. And the developer, who is of course a businessman, despite having good rapport, he just has to go ahead with the other person. So you want to avoid that at all costs because, again, this cost us some money to pay to the solicitor without actually having a property. You can see it's been a lot of experience along the line. And the final one I'll mention in this video is that try as much as possible, if you're going for a new build, try to get incentives from the salesperson. I understand that all of them have opportunity of giving their customers some incentives. It could be that they will do your garden for free. It could be that they will give you some premium items in the bathroom, in the kitchen for free. They could do the integrated fridge, freezer, whatever for free without having to pay extra for them. But in our case, the final property that we got, because, man, we've been in 4 different processes and it failed. We were really disappointed by now. So now that we got one that was almost very certain, we just want to get in there. So we were not, some of our friends were saying, oh, we should insist on getting some incentives, but we just didn't want to press it too much on that so that we don't lose that opportunity. So which means that a lot of things that we could have got for free, I've just had to do my garden and it's costing about 6,000 altogether. Some other things, fridge freezer, integrated, all of that. So try to press them. I know someone who insisted that, hey, we've only reserved this property for £500. We wouldn't mind losing £500 so that we can go to somewhere else where we can get more value for our money. And then the salesperson turned back after a few days and said, okay, I can do your garden for you for free. That would have cost them about £6,000, £7,000, depending. So you can always take that risk, discuss with them, and they will give you that. I hope that's helpful to as many people who are getting into this process. These days, the interest rate is so high. So my own advice, don't take me for it. Do your research and know your affordability. My own advice is that if you're doing a property, not necessarily because the property is expensive, but because the interest rate is expensive, that means the monthly amounts that you'll be paying will be so high. If that amount is more than what you find as the average rental rate in that particular environment, I wouldn't suggest that you go ahead with it because you'll be at a loss in that sense. So just do your affordability and do your research as best as possible before you get into property at this time. Hopefully, in the next coming months, interest rates is going to come down and you'll be in a good position to buy a property. Thank you for watching up to this point. Please do subscribe if you've not. Like our videos, share our videos, and let us see in the comment box what you think about our videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.